Welcome everyone again to the Learning to Birth webinar series, where we interview some of the world's most inspiring and interesting thought leaders on birth, pregnancy, the postpartum, and everything to do with baby. So welcome today, Cori Nielson.
Hi.
Hey, Cori.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I'm really honored to have been asked to be on this webinar.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Everybody, we've got a really special session today with Cori. I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to her. Cori has a BS in education, a master's in divinity, is a Reiki master teacher, a Darshem Reiki master, and an award-winning public speaker with over 4 decades of experience. And the most beautiful thing that we're here to talk with Cori about today, which is why she's here, is that Cori is the creator of the Sacred Childbirth with Reiki method of natural childbirth. So welcome, Cori. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be involved in Reiki and marrying that with natural childbirth?
Sure, I'd love to. I have been doing Reiki for 23 years now. And through the birth of my own children, the first one was supposed to be a home birth, but it came 5 weeks early, and we ended up in the hospital, really kind of battling our way to stay out of interventions. And still, it was a difficult experience. I managed to have a natural childbirth, but he was whisked away from me and screamed and screamed and screamed. And even at 29, he still has anxiety. And we wonder how much that's related to how traumatic his birth was for him. Our second child was born at home. Took him 5 days to birth himself, and it was completely painless. I was almost 40. I was 3 months shy of my 40th birthday when I had that experience. It was due to having hypnotherapy that night, where the hypnotherapist reminded my body how it knew how to birth my baby without pain. Move forward several years, as I was talking to moms, nobody had the experience that I had. And I was like, what? I was almost 40. If my body could do that, your body can do that. And I called the hypnotherapist and said, I need to learn how to do this, I think. And we had a chat about Reiki, and he said, well, you can use Reiki to do this. I'm like, oh, great, okay. And I hung up the phone and went, wait, how? And a little by little, the Reiki masters and the universe all conspired to show me how to do it step by step.
That's incredible. That's a fantastic story. I'd love to know, for the sake of our audience, a little bit about what Reiki is.
Yes. Reiki originated or was rediscovered. It's a very ancient system of healing. It was discovered in Japan, rediscovered in Japan. And what Reiki does is it takes the body into a very deep place of relaxation. So the gift of Reiki is that you can receive it fully clothed. You can receive it pretty much anywhere. It's best when you're in a quiet place, and the practitioner will put her or his hands in different places on your body, and you'll feel usually a really warm heat coming through her or his hands, and it takes your body into a really deep place of relaxation. When your body's deeply relaxed, its own ability to reach balance and to heal itself can happen. We have these wonderful, this body, this temple that we live in is just fabulous. It can bring itself into balance when we are stress-free and when we are in balance. And how often are you that way, Akasha?
Yeah.
You know, how often is anybody like totally quiet and balanced? And Reiki just has that natural ability to take you to that place. So it's a perfect fit with birth.
Yes, it is. Do you want to, like, how do people use Reiki normally? Like, what are its uses outside of childbirth? What do people normally go to Reiki for?
Wow, just about everything. Reiki oh my goodness, it can relieve pain, relieves headaches. It lowers, and because it takes you into a deep place of relaxation, it your body's own ability to heal happens. I know I said that already, but it's been used during surgeries. Nurses will get attuned to Reiki, and surgeons will actually start asking, what are you doing differently? Because every time that you're in the surgery with me, my patient bleeds less, the surgery goes more smoothly, they come out of anesthesia faster. So it has very profound effects that way. They need less pain medication. I've been many, many times in a pre-op room or a post-op room giving Reiki to friends and family members so that they can integrate the healing of their surgery just as quickly as possible.
That's beautiful. I guess the best way to experience what Reiki is probably, if you're listening and you haven't experienced it before, go and find a reputable practitioner in your area that comes recommended, and treat yourself to a session and enjoy it. You've got a beautiful little figurine behind you there. If you're listening to the audio of this, you obviously can't see her, but I'll just describe her. She's a beautiful figurine, probably about 30 centimeters high, and she looks like a birthing woman. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who she is and her story?
This was gifted to be, I'll put it sideways so you can see her belly and her hand. This was gifted to me by a friend who, another woman gave it to her. It came from Mexico. I think of her as the Black Madonna. And you could look at her as Mother Earth if you'd like. She's perfect for the birthing woman. I've had her for many, many years. It was quite an honor to receive this gift from my friend. And she sits on my birthing altar right on the center. Kind of full of lots of goddesses, but she in particular holds the energy of empowering birth for my program, but for all women.
Yes, beautiful. Well, we've got some questions here that we're going to work through together to explore the space of Reiki and childbirth for our listeners. And my first question, Cori, is how do our previous birth-related experiences heavily influence the course of our labor and delivery?
That's a great question. So our bodies will follow the pattern that it knows. It's a pattern that's already developed, because it knows that. Also, when we've had a negative birth experience or sexual trauma, that we feel afraid. It triggers us, right? Anytime that you have some sort of trauma, when you think it's going to happen again, what's the first thing you do? Right? You freeze up and you tense up. And there's a lot of research that is out there that there's a very big connection between fear and pain. So when we're in fear and we tense up, it stops it stops the energy from flowing through, and it creates pain. And when we're deeply relaxed, then the energy can flow through. Do you practice yoga? Have you ever done yoga?
Yes.
So you know how when you say again?
About 20 years or so, yes.
Yeah, and so you know when you reach the limit, you're in an asana and you reach the limit. And when you breathe through the point of tension, it relaxes and all of a sudden you can move farther. Our bodies work the same way. And so it's really important that you clear out the negative stories of previous births, because what in the United States, and perhaps it's the same in Australia, it's so common that when a woman has had a difficult experience, and this was my experience with my first baby, I was really sad and I felt like I had missed something really, really important. And it was my first baby. I didn't even exactly know what that was, but I had a longing inside of me that I couldn't fix, I couldn't fill. And people would say to me, well, what difference does it make? You have a healthy baby. Just be happy for your baby. Well, what about me? You know, there was a part, and so what option did I have? To mourn and by myself, because nobody wanted to, you know, they're like, what's wrong with you? You got a healthy baby. That's the end goal. And it wasn't the only end goal. The end goal was also for me to feel empowered, for me to feel like I could trust my body and that I could birth this baby, that my body knew how to do it, that I could work with my body, because that it was undermining my ability to feel confident in making decisions and responding to my baby. We have this intuitive knowing within us, this mothering impulse that comes up. And when you have people during your birth making you do things that feel counterintuitive, or that don't feel in alignment with what you want to do, then it also makes you, it made me at least doubt, did I know what I was doing? Could I read my baby's signs? I talked to a young mom recently, and she said, you know, she had a Reiki baby birth. Her mom gave her Reiki all the way through her birth. And she said, my friends didn't have the same experience, and it's almost like they got off on the wrong foot in their mothering. And I thought that said it really, really well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the statistics are roughly, and I'm surprised almost that it's so low, that about 30% of women are afraid of childbirth. And if you're going to go through childbirth and you're afraid of it, then it's going to be harder, because as you say, there's going to be pain. And so ways of, you know, uncovering that fear and working it back, and working back the trauma that it comes through, so we can be without pain. I think that's a really good thing that we should be able to do. And it's good to be talking about that with you here today. So I guess one of your passions is, of course, Reiki and childbirth, and we've been talking about that a little bit. But how can we actually use Reiki during childbirth to avoid unnecessary interventions?
Oh, that is a great question. Receiving Reiki while you're giving childbirth is a way to do it. In my opinion, it's not the whole package, because dealing with the things that make you afraid and the places that you've been traumatized before you actually birth is very, very helpful. The way the program evolved, Sacred Childbirth with Reiki, one of the gifts that Reiki does is it deeply, deeply relaxes us. And then we add several more relaxation techniques. And then from that place, the practitioner, I'm going to use myself as the practitioner, I ask you to tell the story of your most recent birth. And because you're deeply relaxed, it's almost like you're just watching it, that you're watching it kind of like a movie, and your voice is down here, and you're just talking about it. In any place where there's a place in your story where there is disharmony. It might be somebody walking into the room and saying something, or it just brought a vibration in that was like, oh, you know, that doesn't feel good. Or the doctor asked you to do something or force something on you that you didn't want. It can be a multitude of different things that come up. It might be something that your partner said, or your mother, or yeah, we listen very carefully in the story to where those parts are. And then we give you several techniques on how to release them. We move that energy out of the body. And then Reiki comes in to fill the space up. When we let something go, if we don't put something of a higher vibration in, the old pattern will come right back in, because that's what's known. Reiki is the vibration of love and light. And so it comes in and it fills the place up that you emptied out of that negative feeling, and it fills it up with this very high vibration of love and light. So eventually, over several sessions, we look for all of the hiccups in your stories, in your births, in your abortions, your miscarriages, infant death, in sexual trauma. And
yes,
each session, after we've done releasing a part of your story, then we remind your body how it knows how to birth your baby without pain. We're mammals, like dogs, like cats, like cows, horses, elephants, and you don't see animals out in nature screaming. You just don't see it. What do animals do? They go off into a quiet spot, secluded, for their safety, and they birth their babies.
Yeah.
And our bodies know how to do that too. And like animals, when they're out in nature, if they sense danger, their bodies will stop laboring. And I've not seen it. I've done an internet search and haven't found it yet. But I'm told that they will actually pull a baby back into their body to keep it safe until the predator has gone. So what commonly happens in the US, and I'm imagining it happens in other places too, women are at home and they're laboring and everything's going great, and it's time to transport to the hospital if they're having a hospital birth, and they get there and there's new smells, lots of sounds that they don't know what they are. There's the ding ding dings and people that are strangers, and what's your body sense? It senses danger, and so it'll stop the labor. And then often in the US, that's when things start getting in trouble, because when you go to the hospital, you're on a clock, and they don't really tell you that. And I'd like to believe that they're backing off on that a little bit, but you have a certain amount of time for your body to get going again. And if it doesn't, that's when they want to start the Pitocin drip. And then if it's still not going fast enough, they want to add more and more. And the thing about Pitocin is that you don't get any, a normal contraction goes like this, and then you have a bottom part where you get to rest, and then it comes up again. But with Pitocin, it's just one after another, after another, after another, and you don't get time to rest in between. And you get exhausted, and you have to have pain medication. I know of a few people that have managed to power through and not have pain medication, but it's incredibly difficult. So the way Reiki helps is that it helps you, even in that transition place of moving from home to hospital. Your partner is attuned to Reiki, or you have a Reiki practitioner that goes with you, and you're receiving Reiki, and it helps your body get deeply relaxed and feel safe. So the energy surges, I don't like to call them contractions, we call them energy surges, can keep moving through your body, pushing your baby down and down and down to birth.
So there's obviously a lot of advantages then for starting earlier during the pregnancy rather than later. Yeah. And
birth is a marathon. It goes over hours, and if you're going to if you're going to run a marathon, do you start training the week before or the day of the event? You don't. You practice, you train your body, you have a regular program of training so that when the time actually comes, that your body knows what to do. one of the things we want to do is encode into the memory of your cells how your body knows how to birth without pain, how it knows how to work with the energy surges and to expand to the perfect size for your baby's head to pass. That was my experience with my second baby. The head, I was envisioning everything expanding to the perfect size for the baby's head to pass, and I didn't know when the baby's head was out. Can you believe that? I was astounded. And that's something that, if my, again, I was almost 40, if my almost 40-year-old body could do that, a 20-something or a 30-something can certainly do that.
Yes, that's beautiful. When a birthing parent comes to have a session with you, what does that session actually look like?
Oh, that's a great question. I encourage parents to do a number of sessions, again, to get it into their body. We start by doing a very in-depth client review sheet of their births, of what they're intending for their birth, how they're feeling about their pregnancy and their birth, about becoming a parent, if they've had previous birth-related experiences, and that is miscarriages, abortions, sexual trauma, anything that's birth-related. Then we take a look at those and listen to the stories, what their relationship is like with their partner, what the relationship is like with their mother, or if it's a male and he's coming to support his wife, then how does he feel about being a dad? What's he concerned about? What are his worries about starting a family? If it's a second or third or fourth birth, what stories does he have to tell about his children's birth? Because a male sees it from a different perspective. They want to protect their wife. And if they're in a situation where that doesn't happen, he could feel like he wasn't a good protector for his wife, or he wasn't able to help his wife when she was in pain. And that is a great reason for the partner to be attuned to Reiki, to be able to give Reiki to his or her birthing partner, because they have hands-on at helping her be deeply relaxed and to work with the energy surges and not to feel them as pain. So when they come, first we do an intake the first day. We sit down and have a discussion of that. And then each session goes the same. We learn relaxation techniques while giving Reiki. And then I guide the mama through telling her birth-related stories, one story at a time. And then we remind the body how it knows how to birth the baby. Now, in the perfect case scenario, mom and her birthing partner, be it dad, be it a same gender partner, be it a sister or a mama, both are attuned to Reiki, so that we work on them setting up regular practice sessions, weekly practice sessions with each other, just for bonding, for mom being deeply relaxed, for the partner bonding with the baby, for reminding mom's body how to birth this baby in deeply relaxation and feeling empowered and working with her body. And they would be attuned to Reiki 1 and hopefully Reiki 2 while coming for sessions, and then setting up practice sessions at home. It's my job as the facilitator to help them feel empowered to go do this birth on their own. I do not go to the births. I empower my couples so that they can go and create the birth that they're dreaming of with their baby, because the baby is part of the equation. That soul coming in is creating the experiences it needs for the reasons it's come as a soul. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I'm wondering also, how do you attune the partners and the birthing attendants who are going to be there? How do you work with them to attune them so that they're able to be present during the birth and provide that Reiki frequency for the birthing mum?
Yes, they can take a Reiki 1 class from any Reiki master teacher where they live. And Reiki 1 is usually taught in a 1-day workshop. Oftentimes now Reiki 1 and 2 are being taught together in a weekend. And so it's 2 days where you learn the history of Reiki, you learn the philosophy behind it, you learn the hand positions for giving Reiki to yourself. You practice that. Giving yourself Reiki is a fabulous practice. I've been giving Reiki to myself every day for 23 years now and have had remarkable results. And so you find a Reiki master teacher in your area, ask around, and then ask for recommendations for other students that person has taught. Talk to them and see if they like that Reiki master teacher's way of teaching, or perhaps you get just a really good strong sense of, oh, this is my person, and you learn Reiki. And then you start practicing it on yourself. You learn Reiki, how to give Reiki to another person. You learn the hand positions. And you start practicing. The more you do Reiki, the more it flows through you and you can really sense it and feel it.
It sounds like it'd be a wonderful thing for birth keepers and doulas to get trained in generally, to be able to do Reiki for childbirth. Yeah.
I agree. That's a great idea.
Is that something that you also offer? You do the Reiki for childbirth for the moms. Do you also train doulas and birth keepers as well?
Yes. Yeah, I've been traveling for about the last 10, 12 years, teaching this method to other Reiki 2, the level 2 or above. And many doulas, midwives, we had an OB-GYN doctor come and take the training, labor and delivery room nurses, as well as Reiki practitioners who want to add this service to their practice. One of the really important things that we're not paying too much attention of that I can see in the birthing field, and I hear this from midwives who've trained with me. Did you have a question? All right, so we were talking about that this is good for labor or for midwives and doulas. Yes, very much so. The midwives and doulas that have taken this and who have cleared out their own birth stories have reported back to me, and that's not a great word, but have shared with me that what they're seeing is that as midwives and doulas, you see many, many different kinds of births.
Yeah.
And many of them go really, really well, and sometimes they don't. And it's important to clear out of yourself and your physiology. Let me say that in a different way. Just like when we birth a baby and we have negative experiences, we store those memories in the cells of our body. When it happens, or what appears to be a similar situation starts happening, we tense up because we remember that it triggers us. And there is some research showing that what we think and fear, and when we run energy through that, it affects things. It can make it happen the way that we don't want it to happen, the way that we fear. And so it's really important for doulas and midwives to not only heal and harmonize their own birth stories for their own physical children and birth-related experiences in life, but to continue after being present and facilitating births, to continue to clear out those stories, especially the ones that didn't have as positive an outcome as they want. It was a perfect birth. There's nothing such thing as a perfect birth. But to clear out the traumas so that they're not getting triggered and putting, it's like starting with a clear canvas or a placid lake. And if you're holding the sacred space, that's why I call it sacred childbirth, because it's a sacred space. You're holding a neutral space for that mama and that baby and that birthing partner to create the birth that they need to start their family together. When we're not clear as a birth provider or as the grandmother in the room or as a nurse or as whoever else is in the room, then we're adding, think of a lake, we're adding pebbles. We're adding pebbles into the lake. We're throwing our own pebbles in, and where the birthing mom and the baby are one petal in the middle and all the little circles are coming out perfectly. Oh, I'm throwing my pebble in over here, and somebody else is throwing their pebble in over here, and all of a sudden you've got this very unpeaceful, rippled effect on the lake, and the same thing happens in our energy fields. So the more neutral that we can be as the doula, as the midwife, as the labor room and delivery nurse, in whatever capacity that you're serving, so that you can hold a neutral space for mom, the better the outcome of the birth can be. It can be what mom wants it to be and baby wants it to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's very beautiful. That neutrality of not bringing our own junk. Very, very important. Very important. Absolutely. Ray, do you want to talk a little bit about Reiki and babies? How does Reiki make a baby happy?
Oh my gosh. Reiki babies are happy babies. They, when mom is getting Reiki through her pregnancy, her stress levels are lower. We know that anything mom experiences, they tell us that if you take a medication that the baby feels it, is it like 30 times more? Something like that. So imagine if you're stressing, or if you have like continuous stress. I mean, we all have a stressor now and again, and I want everybody to hear that if you have an upset or a stress, you're not harming your baby, but it moves on through. The place where it can be more peaceful for the baby is if you have chronic stress or chronic worries. And the Reiki naturally takes you into this deep place of relaxation, so you just feel happy, you feel chilled out, and the baby feels the same thing. So Reiki, and also during the labor and delivery, same thing. Because the baby, when we're afraid, it creates adrenaline in our systems, and that adrenaline shoots right into the baby. And when we are peaceful and deeply relaxed, it's all the feel-good hormones that are getting released. The serotonin, the oxytocin, and the melatonin are flooding our bodies, and we feel great, and so does baby. So oftentimes, Reiki babies are just happy, they're chilled out, they nurse well, they sleep well, they don't have colic. Babies sometimes get earaches. You can Reiki their ears. They get toothaches. You can Reiki their little jaws. Growing pains. Our neighbor had, when their baby was little, he had terrible growing pains in his calves, and we could Reiki his calves, and the muscles would relax and the pain would go away. Tummy aches, there's just so many different ways. Broken bones as they get bigger. And there's just so many ways that you can ongoing every day use Reiki. I will give you an example of how powerful Reiki is. This has nothing to do with childbirth, but it's my own personal experience. I was in a really severe car accident when I was 27 and almost lost my right leg. And was told at the time when they rebuilt my knee that I would need a new knee in 5 to 10 years, but to wait as long as I could because knees wore out. This was, back in 1982. And that was the parting words of the doctor. You hold on as long as you can. Well, I learned Reiki and started giving myself Reiki, and at one point went to a orthopedic for just a checkup. And I went saying, no one tells me I need a new knee. I'm not in pain. This is just to see like what my body's doing right now. And the doctor said to me, well, if this was a teaching hospital, I'd have all the interns in, because you're a prime example not to diagnose to the x-ray. Your x-rays show that you should be living in a wheelchair. And I went on a 100-mile peace walk in Italy that very next year. When I took those x-rays to my Chinese homeopathic doctor, he looked at them and went, whoa, can I borrow these? I want to show them to a friend. And he also said, that's all the Reiki you do. That's why you don't have any pain. That's how powerful it can be. Wow. So in childbirth, it's the same thing. It helps your body relax so the energy can flow through. It helps the baby relax so the baby can sleep, the baby can digest, they're happy, they grow faster. They're strong little bodies, they hold their heads up right away. It's just, it's a great tool, and it's so easy to use. All you need are your hands. The energy comes through your hands, and you can just put them wherever on the body that it needs.
That's a beautiful story. That's incredible. I'm so glad for you that this is your story, and you've had that beautiful experience of healing and joy and love of life, and not being contained by your experiences and what the world tells you your life should look like. That's beautiful.
It's true. I have one more thought about Reiki babies, is that they grow up to be amazing human beings. We have so many old souls that are birthing into the planet right now. And when we can birth them unmedicated, when we can birth them in a deeply relaxed and connected way, where we're connected heart to heart and soul to soul and light to light as we're bringing our babies through, we help those souls stay awake. I don't know about you, Akasha, but for me, I'm 60, almost 65 now, and it took me 30 years to even 20 years to start waking up, and then it took me longer, just to start to get totally present and to feel, to know what my soul purpose is, and to be doing it. And these little ones are just awake. Some of the first sacred childbirth babies are now 19 years old, 18 years old. Yeah, and they are amazing young adults. Just really knowing what they want, kind and gentle hearts, and really wanting to make a difference on the planet. It is so exciting to see.
The next generation certainly are an inspiration, and I think that's why a lot of us are here doing what we're doing, because we care so much about facilitating that and just loving the people that are being born onto this planet.
Yes.
And the gifts that they have here to offer. It's very beautiful. I'm very grateful to witness it. And that's a good segue to kind of talk about, it's not just us here as birthing mamas. Often we're here as part of a multi-generational family. It's not just us mothering our babies. It's going to be, aunts and grandmothers and everything as well. Do you want to talk about a little bit about the role of other, the multi-generational kind of family, and how important it is for all of us to work at clearing our pain and trauma and transforming it into that joy and self-confidence and expression of life that you're doing in your own life?
Yeah, yes, thanks for asking that question. Just like the doulas and the midwives affect the birth through their own pain stories, I'm really convinced that through the work that I've done, as I've trained Reiki practitioners and they've cleared their birth stories, And they're not birthing anymore, but they cleared their own birth stories so that they can be that placid, sacred space, that neutral space where they're not getting triggered by their own past experiences. How it transforms the dynamic with their children, what's going on in their children's lives. And I have become convinced, and I don't do any research to prove it yet, but from what I've seen, that as the grandmothers, as the women who are done birthing, it is really critical that we clear our own birth stories, because we are the womb holders. We are the wisdom keepers and the womb holders for the planet. One of my moms said recently, you know, Cori, my daughters aren't even really interested in even trying for a natural birth. We're in the second generation of C-section babies, and it's more convenient for them to schedule a day to go to have the baby, you know, delivered through C-section. And I was horrified. And my niece, who had a breech baby at home, using sacred childbirth with Reiki, and a midwife who was very well trained, is saying the same thing about her friends. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think as the elders, as the grandmothers, as the elders, as the matrons of the planet, I don't like the word crone, we are the matrons of the planet, that when we heal our own stories and we share our power stories with birthing moms, not our horror stories of how horrible it was and look what happened to me. We heal those stories. We get the lesson behind it. We forgive. We get it out of our bodies, and then we infuse our bodies with how it knows how to birth beautifully, because we birth our dreams the same way we birth our babies. We go through it through the same cycle. So we heal our bodies of the trauma so that we can birth in pleasure. We can birth with ease and grace and flow. We can birth our dreams. We're done birthing our babies. But everybody that's on this webinar, dreams are for birth on the planet. So when we do our own work and we become a neutral space and are able to hold a sacred space, like this beautiful lady here, that's what she represents to me, then we can change, we can effectively change how babies are being birthed on the planet and how mamas are being taken care of during their births. Now the great news, can I put just a little plug in for sacred childbirth, is that to do that kind of clearing, can be done through phone appointments, not for working with pregnant parents. For pregnant parents, it needs to be hands-on, and we have practitioners around the United States. But for working with people that want to clear their past births, we can do that through phone appointments. Then I've worked with people on the other side of the world. So it's work that anyone can do. We can do the birthing work also via phone. It's nice to have hands-on initially, but it doesn't have to be that way. But we have many gifted practitioners that in many states. We haven't made it to the other side. We haven't made it to Australia yet.
I want you over here. You're going
I'm ready to go international. I've been to Canada. I just haven't been across the big pond.
There's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of Australian people watching this. So I'd be surprised if you're not over here in the next 24 months. So
oh, that would be lovely. It would be so nice to be able to bring it there.
Yeah. All right. Let's make that happen. Hey, Cori.
Okay.
It's been having Cori. How can women connect with you and take your courses and follow you online?
So my website is CoriNielson.com. That's CoriNielson.com. Nielsen.com. And you'll see three programs there. One is for if you're birthing a baby. One is if you're a Reiki practitioner, a level 2 or above, and want to train as in the Sacred Childbirth with Reiki method. And the other one is for a program that is called Fulfill Your Divine Purpose, which is where you go back and re-experience your own birth. Because the underlying piece of this is that we, as infants, and this applies to the babies that we're birthing, babies remember their gestation, their conception, their gestation, and their birth. Those are the first ways that we learn about what life is like in a human body on planet Earth. And it's true for ourselves too. Like young children take on mommy being upset or mommy and daddy fighting as it being their fault. It happens in the womb also. And so when we go back personally and re-experience, first of all, meeting with our guides and getting a clear information about what our soul purpose is, why we're choosing to come into human form in this lifetime, and then moving through the gestation and what you remember from that. And it's not conscious memories, it's the memories we're tapping the subconscious mind, or a level of the mind where it's not so important what really happened, it's what we experienced is what we're looking for, and where we held that in our bodies. And then we take that all the way through gestation, birth, and the formative years to heal the patterns. That's called Fulfill Your Divine Purpose. Often in that work, or having a lot of the ancestors coming forward and saying, we want you to, and you've agreed to end this pattern for our lineages. And they specifically, often it involves a lot of forgiveness work that can happen right there during the session. It's so magical, it's hard to, you talk about it and for it to make sense. It's powerful work. It's especially helpful for entrepreneurs who find these old patterns keep sabotaging them. And it's been really exciting to see the women who have, this program got kind of downloaded about a year ago, and the women who now a year later did this program are saying things like, I'm living the life I always dreamed of, or I've met this person that I've been wanting in my life for so long, and my business has doubled, and my client, one woman has been recommended, or recommended for 2 awards in her community, and she finds out next week, she got nominated. That's the word I'm looking for. And her business is like tripled in the last year. So, and this is all centered around birth. So there is a portal for each one of those on my website, CoriNielson.com. You can click on the portal. There is a link there to my calendar. I offer a free, absolutely free 30-minute consultation where we can identify what your number one block is, whether it's birthing a baby, or we can talk about training in sacred childbirth, or what your number one block is in your own personal life story that's keeping you from living your soul purpose, from being the best, having the birth of your dreams, for serving birthing women.
That's amazing. What an amazing life you have to be able to be sharing these important gifts with people. That's
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's exciting. I'm really passionate about when we heal our birth stories, our own birth story and birth stories of our children, our lives have the ability to flow with ease and grace. And that's where the synchronicities start happening, where just you're in the right spot at the right time, and the right clients come to you, and it's It's really a fun place to live. A lot of exciting things, magical moments happen.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I hope everyone gets a chance to book that session with you. We'll have a link below this content so people can take advantage of that. And Cori, before we say goodbye, do you want to tell us a little bit about what your vision might be if, let's say the whole world were to, have, sacred childbirth, with Reiki downloaded to them, and everyone's birthing around the world with Reiki, and healed from their traumas and everything. What's that vision going to look like for you? Like, what are we aiming towards here?
Well, what a great question.
Yeah.
Peace on earth. Heaven. I was just reading in a book, How Good Can It Get? Holding the question out to the universe, how good can it be? How good can this day be? How full of love and light and joy and peace. No wars, everybody having abundant prosperity, no hungry children, no need to fight or hurt each other because we're hurting inside. That to me is what I think we create heaven. We create heaven by how we live our lives. Heaven is here. And the more that we are willing and are courageous to heal the pain inside of ourselves and to harmonize it and to raise it into the vibration of love and light, which Reiki naturally does, it just fills it up. The more that we can each and every one have that, because until we all have it, we're one to all and all to the one. We're doing this together. It takes all of us. We're part of the web of life, and when we all work together, then we can have that, everyone. That would be my dream. What's yours?
That's a good question. And you're the first person to ask me that. Oh my gosh. on this webinar series. That's beautiful. Thank you, Cori. I love your vision. I really have a vision where, and I think Anne Margolis actually, she's going to open this webinar series October 21st. So by the time everyone watches us here today, they've probably already watched Anne. And one of the things that she says is that a baby without shame is joy. And for me, it's about my vision, life without shame. People don't need shame. And getting rid of the shame, packing it off, like all the stories that had been given to me that weren't my story. They were other people's stories. They weren't mine. And I had to work out what was me, and I had to work out what was everything else. I gave away the everything else. And then I had a beautiful second birth. I had an ecstatic birth. I did feel pain because I had a lot to work through. But at the same time as feeling pain, I felt bliss and ecstasy. It was interesting. So a life without shame is a powerful life where we unlock those divine gifts, our divine soul purpose. We can just be ourselves, radiating our joy. Yeah. And that's what we're all here for. We're here, I think, everyone here on this summit, why we do what we do is because we want to help mamas be their beautiful, joyous selves. And we want babies to keep that joy that they're born with, hopefully forever. And we do want that peace on earth, and we see it, and we see how close, how close it is. Like Nicole Moore from Birth into Being, she's one of their educators. She talks about limbic imprinting. And, their whole philosophy is we are one generation away from peace on earth. I don't know how many generations in reality it's going to take to get there to what, to peel off all that shame and those stories of trauma that were given to us by other people who didn't know any better. Right. But we are going to get there. It will happen because in the world of possibilities and probabilities, you know, at some point it's going to happen. So get ready for it, everybody. Get ready for peace on earth, because that is where we're heading.
Well, then we have the 100th monkey syndrome, you know, where we're going to get the paradigm shift. When enough of us do our work and get on board, it's going to be like the teeter-totter is going to tip. It's going to happen.
It's true. And it will just happen because people just know how, and they won't know where that knowledge came from. If you don't know the 100 Monkeys story, I guess look it up. That's for another time. But for those who don't understand that. Right. So thank you so much, Cori, for being with us.
Thank you really beautiful. So much for asking me. It's been really an honor, such an honor to be able to be a part of this summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. You can follow Learning to Birth at Learn to Birth, Instagram and Facebook. Come check out our group and meet Cori and the other speakers. And we'll see you at the next webinar. Bye, everyone.
Bye.